All right, so this was a huge deal for me. I got to sit down with one of my favorite lead singers from one of my favorite bands of all time, Corey Taylor from Slipknot. I've been listening to them since 1999 when that first record dropped. Blew my mind. And I had the chance to sit down with him at the Bristow, Virginia concert at Jiffy Lube Live on Sunday, September 1st. A couple things to note when you listen to the interview. The first 30 seconds are shaky because Gojira was playing right behind us and they were crushing it live. And that's why the tripod is shaking. But enjoy the interview. Check it out. We're here at the show. I want to talk about Tom Savini.
Yeah.
Sex Machine from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
Made
yeah.
Your Mask.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about what that process is like. When you first meet with him, what do you tell him? Like, what do you say? Because obviously the mask is very important to what the album's going to sound like.
Right.
How far in the writing process are you when you go to Tom, and then what do you say to him about what you want?
I mean, largely the writing doesn't really have anything to do visually with what I have a certain aesthetic in mind going into it, like what I want to represent myself for the album, like the evolution where I'm at, So with somebody like Tom, who's just got years of experience, man, you sit down and you just start kind of fleshing out ideas and the practicality of it and just basically bouncing ideas off each other on how to make it work, And yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was a really cool collaboration, and also a lesson in I can hold myself back from freaking out on the fact that here's Tom Savini, and it was really cool, man. I got to know him really, really well. He's a super cool dude, and yeah, it was great.
One of the beauties of what I love about your music is I've always found a very cinematic way into your music. Your music has always had almost like music scores in between, and even Spiders this time around. You have a John Carpenter element there because he's one of the greatest composers ever because he did the Halloween theme. Yeah. Talk about your cinematic influences into the writing process, but also the cinematic influence of how you present your show on stage. It's like watching a movie. It is.
Yeah, very much. I mean, it's almost like live action movie, basically, it's like a step away from like a play, but like a little more enhanced. It's crazy. It's to us, it's about setting a scene, and every song should set a scene. Every song should take you somewhere visually, emotionally. I don't want to say spiritually because we're not hippies, but it's one of those things where if it doesn't move you and put you in a certain mindset, then we haven't done our job. Even songs that some of our fans don't like should have that moment of taking you somewhere and putting you someplace maybe uncomfortable, maybe someplace that you've never really wanted to confront. But that's our goal. From purely from an artistic standpoint. We've always said we're much more an artiste band than a gimmick, and it feels like now after 20 years people are finally starting to come around.
One thing I love about your sets, by the way, is that every song kind of leads into everything perfectly. Right. When you design your set list, how do you think about the energy of the show? Okay, is this song going to hit really hard? Then we'll chill here for a little bit, hit them again with something really heavy. What is that set list process like?
It's I mean, you want to create space. You want to create like peaks and valleys and stuff. And you don't want to destroy the audience and then leave them with nothing. You have to you create it so there's a way for them to catch their breath. And at the same time, we're a band now that has so many different types of music that our sets are completely different from the way they used to be, So now it just kind of comes down to, what kind of flow do we want it to have? We can pummel, we can permeate, we can have that, we can draw people in, we can push them out, we can provoke, we can we can agitate. I mean, there's so many things that we can do now that actually make it fun to put the set together, but at the same time, there's certain beats that you have to hit. There are certain songs that if you don't put it in there, people riot. And that's the fun of it, man. It's making and playing around with it and making sure that you're getting it right.
My favorite song on the new record is Nero Forte, and I'm genuinely curious from a process standpoint of the writing, because I know there's 9 people. You're dealing with all the writing credit goes to
Right.
the band itself, which is amazing. I love that. That part in the song, the breakdown, when you're hitting that word where you're going, "Why did I not see?"
Right.
Like, that is such a freaking brilliant moment in the track, and I'm curious, like, where that comes from. Do you know, like, every sentence is going to start with this word that's going to create another sentence down the line? It's so cool.
That was, I mean, yeah, that was on purpose. I knew that I wanted to do something in that bit really interesting, you know, because the music is so interesting. It's like I didn't want to overdo it, but at the same time, I wanted to complement it as well, and still poetically be able to come across with something that makes people go, "Oh, I see what he did," you know. So with something like that, it was so easy to you start with that sentence first. You know, what do I want to say, and then kind of paint in between everything else.
That's cool. So you kind of had the sentence down, and
Right.
then, so like that particular song, like how does it start? Do you start with lyrics, like?
No, that song started with music actually, and yeah, and it was really cool. It was one of the handful that I was actually built by more of the guys in the band, and Clown kind of leading the way with it. It was really cool, and that whole cadence came from him playing that out, and then the music kind of triggering off of that. You know, it was really cool, man. Yeah.
I know you've been asked about older songs for 20 years now, and forgive me if you've answered this question a million times. I don't know the answer to it. I've read different theories to it. You can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you? Because to me, like, again, as a film fan,
Right.
Finding Your Band, Ross Robinson producing, I mean, that album was a fucking masterpiece. But hearing you reference Marlon Brando in that metal song was like, that's freaking awesome.
Right.
And then I realized later on how much of a movie fan you were. And
Oh, yeah.
So talk about where that came from, if you don't mind.
That line is actually screamed at us by a very nice homeless fellow in New York City, actually, and he kind of walked by. Yeah, he kind of walked by the group of us, and he was casting about, and all of a sudden he homed in on us and just said it. And we just, you know, Clown wrote it down. He was like, "I think you should use this," and I did, you know. And that song thematically is about being younger and having people tell you that your problems don't matter, and that, you know, that the real issues that you've been dealing with, whether it was, you know, being abused or, you know, abusing, you know, narcotics at such a young age, and having a court-appointed therapist, well, quote unquote therapist, tell you that it's all in your head. And that's where that line comes from. It's all in your head, because you get to the point where it's like, no, it's not all in my head, you know. But that line, "You can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes," was such a metaphor for what real psychotherapy used to be back then. And the fact that they just couldn't relate to these insane, gnarly teenage boys who just wanted to destroy everything. So that was me trying to figure it out for myself as well, and kind of put everything in perspective.
You know, you play these amazing shows every night. I've been watching so many videos. Jay is just murdering it on drums.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I love that photo he posted of him and Jim and his dad, like from like years
Dude,
ago. That
that's
was
great,
so
man.
cool, man.
It's so cool.
But one thing I'm fascinated is when you're on stage, two things. What are you hearing in the sense of how much guitar, how much bass, how much drums is going into your in-ear?
Right.
And then at the same time, when you play these songs live for an audience, do they ever take on different meanings for you by watching an audience react to a song?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I mean, it's weird. First of all, what's in my in-ears is everybody. I love it. I love.
Is it
having
everything just hitting you?
Oh yeah.
At different? Are they all the same levels?
Well, I turn the volume down. It's not like it's just screaming in my head. What we do is we do a line check or a sound check at the beginning of every tour, and we set our own ears. And then every once in a while, things have to be kind of dialed in for like different stuff, but it essentially stays the same. That's why in-ears are so good, is that you don't have to do a sound check every day. Saves your pipes, saves your crew, like everybody can get on and off in a timely fashion. And so I love having everyone in my ears. I love triggering, because I like trying to. For me, it's about trying to get as close to that album as possible, or maybe even beating that performance, you know. As far as like things taking on different meanings and perspectives, the good thing about the audience being right there and singing it back at you, it gives you maybe a more positive bent on it. It takes you out of that negative headspace where you maybe wrote some of that stuff and a lot of the crazy stuff that was going on in your head, and it makes you feel like you can share it with them. And that's what's cool. It's when you see them singing those words back at you, it's not the same reason, but they feel it just as much as you do. So that becomes almost like this sense of sonic empathy where you're sharing with each other. It's like, this is what it meant to me, and you can almost feel it, without that, like that unwritten thing. And it helps carry the burden. It helps take that off of you, and it encourages you to entertain and share it even more.
Is there a song you wrote years ago that means something different to you now as you play it?
No, I mean they pretty much all still mean the same, man. Like, but for me, it's easier to kind of go back to that touchstone than it was, before. Especially now that I'm, 45. Jesus.
Well, you look like you're 25. You look super young, man.
Well, I always give Griffin hell because everybody's like, you're twins. I was like, you hear that? You look like a 40-something old man.
He does look exactly like you. When they when you guys do photos together, if you don't mind me asking, this photo is iconic.
Right.
What do you remember about that shoot? Like, what do you remember about sitting there and doing that photo shoot?
I remember it was weird having. It was actually Satone's head between my legs. I'm sitting in a gynecologist's chair. You can't really tell, but my legs are spread. My hands are on top of his head, and that was in Clown's garage.
What?
Yeah, that was in his garage. Cool. 35th and Kingman. In Des Moines. Yeah, it was his old place where we used to practice. And I mean, we literally got dressed up right after practice, went up, took the picture, and we were like, all right, we'll see what happens. That was in his,
unbelievable.
Garage.
And then, like, over the years, like, the album covers to me have always been interesting. Like, this one was gorgeous. Like, I remember buying this. I remember buying this in Myrtle Beach when the day came out. Like, how? I know Sean's really, Clown's really big.
He does all of it. Yeah,
it's
he does
incredible.
all of it.
And over the years, you've done that. And I saw you on Twitter the other day. You said Volume 3 was the only album that didn't have an explicit on it. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So was that on purpose, or just didn't get an explicit?
I did that on purpose. Yeah.
Can you talk about like that idea? Because I did not even think about that album not being explicit. It just sounds like Slipknot to me.
Everybody, I was catching so much hell. Whether it was Slipknot or Stone Sour, it's like, he can't truly be a great writer because he can't write without using expletives and whatnot. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, let's, So I did that whole album specifically for that. Yeah. To me, it was a bigger, fuck you to write a whole album without saying that, to just make people go, damn it, that to me. That's why I was, pretty proud of that album,
This is a writing question that maybe probably more for Jay and Clown, but I'm curious, like, when they are doing the drums and they're writing them, how do they figure out what Clown's going to hit and what Jay's going to hit? Because I find that interesting because they're so in sync, clearly.
Right.
But, I mean, how do they figure out that Clown's going to hit it on this beat?
They do a lot of experimentation. Clown, he tries a lot of different things before he settles on it, and it's great because Jay is such a consistent drummer. It helps him really dial that like even faster, it's cool. It's cool to watch too. It's cool to watch them track it because Clown like tries so many different things and his style is so distinct.
Do they record together?
No.
Interesting.
But they play together when Jay's recording. So then when they come back, then Clown has like listened to it and felt it, and usually he's in the room with him, and he gets a better idea for like what he's going to do with it.
Sorry if this is a question you've gotten a zillion times. I still don't know the full answer to it. All Out Life is obviously a great track. But I believe I read that you just didn't think it fit on the record altogether.
Yeah.
Does that bother you on the records? I love that track.
No,
I'm just curious.
No. I mean, it's not like you can't find it.
It's the choice.
It's out there. Yeah, absolutely. It would have been different if people couldn't access it, but it's everywhere. Like to us, it was more about making room for a new song that fit with the narrative or whatever, instead of trying to throw this song on that was more of a one-off. More, it had its spirit was really more in line with being a one-off than anything else. And I think once we explained that to people they could grasp it. Yeah, because it's not like we were keeping it from anybody, you know, because you can get it out there. But for me, it made more sense to leave room on an already stacked album for a song that just kind of fit more with what was going on.
How do you figure out the order of your album? Like Soul Wave Firth, you have at the end. And you have, it's fascinating to me. You go back through all your records and you hit Sick, you hit Eyeless. I mean, the way these songs all come together. Who's responsible for the order of the tracks? Like,
Me and Clown do.
How do you figure out where you're going to put them?
It's almost like a shell game, man. Like we put a lot of things together, and then we listen to it, and then we start it and we listen to it. And if something just isn't jibing, we rearrange that. Like, we usually know how we're going to start it. We usually know how we're going to end it. It all comes down to all those pieces in between, you know, and just kind of moving stuff. And honestly, it helps us figure out what songs are going to be on the album as well, you know, because sometimes, you know, we'll do whole arrangements with songs that don't make the album. And it's like, well, this is working right here, but you know, it's song, maybe take that out. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, and we concentrate on that even as much as we do the art, we do the songwriting, the lyrics, it's to us, it's all a part of the plan.
I'm gonna put you on the spot with a couple of rapid fire movie questions because you and I are both huge movie fans.
Gotcha.
Favorite Kevin Smith movie?
Oh man, Mallrats.
Yeah,
man. Dude.
That is the best one.
It's so good. And that's not to say, I mean, I love his movies, but that one really was the one that I could honestly relate to because I was a mall kid, you know? Like, I can remember being chased through a mall by security many times, you know? Like, so I was like, I can totally identify with
There is no Easter Bunny. That's my favorite scene.
So good.
Favorite Tarantino film?
God, if I can, well, no, I won't go with that because that's more of a Rodriguez.
Which one? From Dusk Till Dawn?
Of course.
Well, he wrote it. You can go with that.
He wrote it, but
all right, directed Tarantino.
Directed. I'll probably say this new one.
Hollywood, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't it awesome? The cinematography.
Really oh, it's gorgeous.
I like when we're in the back of the car with Margot Robbie and Polanski, and they're just like driving, and the fucking hair is just flying everywhere.
Insane, yeah.
So, and then that shot when they go to the drive-in as it follows Brad Pitt to his trailer.
The thing I love about him is he's always creating ways to draw you in, mess with your head with something that is such a basic shot. You know, like that's the thing is like he thinks so much outside of the box sometimes that it's a delight watching him tell a story.
And Carpenter, favorite Carpenter is probably definitely Halloween, I'm assuming, right?
Close second though. Well, I mean that's kind of your given.
That's the given.
That's your given.
Where you think?
Close second it's got to be the thing. Absolutely, man. So good.
One of the greatest movies.
And dude, it tanked when it first came out. It didn't do well. I was blown away. I was like, this is awesome. Oh my god. And yeah.
Do you have a favorite film of all time?
Of all time?
Yeah, just like what is there like mine's Terminator 2. That's the movie that changed my life in regards to movies.
Escape from New York.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to have you and Carpenter spoken? No,
I wish. God, I did a review on his first album and for Talk House, which is like an online music review thing. And I got word back that he really liked it, but I had never spoken to him myself. Yeah.
I did a metal band, I think.
Yeah. I did talk to Wes Craven though. That was really cool.
And you're doing that Robert Englund documentary, which is going to be really, really cool. And people can see that, I think, is it later this year?
Very soon, yeah. It's almost done.
All right, last question for you. As we sit here, you're getting ready to go on stage in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
What's your process now for the next 2 hours? Like it almost. I feel like when I watch Slipknot, it's characters, but it's still you guys on stage.
No, absolutely.
What's the process now from here to stage?
Well, obviously getting all the crap on, warming up, stretching out, just preparing yourself because it's almost all adrenaline at that point. You get out on stage, you make sure you're going to perform well, and then you just hold on for dear life. You let the mask basically run the show because once you put that on, you're a totally different person, man. Like it becomes, you unlock something that is inside you, but is hard to conjure up when you're not wearing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really carte blanche to just let go, and it's pretty dope.